Hey guys, Jamie Lee here with Progressive Programming. We are talking about the month of June. This is the final month of our very first mesocycle of this 2021 season. Preparing ourselves for the 2022 Open. Now, as we go through this, let's just kind of recap on the last couple months. Once we did finish the Open, we started this new mesocycle or this training phase, the foundation, right? So foundation is essentially this 3-month period of time where we're progressively increasing our strength and the complexity to each movement pattern. Now, just a quick recap. Month 1, we went through our base and balance. We were working with a lot of balancing drills as far as our skill. We had a deadlift cycle, really primarily working on picking up weights and just kind of how do we set up and brace ourselves to pick up a deadlift properly. And then we had our high bar back squat, which was our secondary, that very first month of base and balance. Going into our second month of that training phase foundation, the foundation training phase, we had our back squat go from our secondary strength to our primary strength. Now, the goal of that is just more time working on building through that progressive overload. And then going into our secondary strength, we kind of moved from our superset from the very first month with the back squat dumbbell bench into a overhead vertical press. We went from our strict press into our push press, and we did superset that with a 3-point bent over row. So working that horizontal pull. Now, for our skill that we went through in the month of May, which was our the second month of our training phase for the foundation, this was our speed and power. Now, during this month, like I said, we went into a much heavier percentage work on our back squats and tested our back squat at the end of this month, along with working through some push press. So we had our strict press, push press complex, and our gymnastics focus. Not just working on Murph prep, but also working on building stability and strength through those movement patterns to prepare us for a high volume workout like Murph. Now, going into our new cycle, this is going to be the month of June. This is our speed and skill month, right? So, speed and skill. The goal is at the end of the last 2 months, we've progressively built up strength and capacity through our squatting patterns, our pressing patterns, and we did have some of our pulling work involved, primarily working through more EMOM stuff. But once we get into our month of June, speed and power, we're going into our primary strength, shifting gears completely into an Olympic lift. Now, we're not just doing just the Olympic lift, we're gonna go into a hang squat clean plus front squat complex. So the idea is taking that high bar back squat that we worked on that really reinforced a vertical torso during the squat. We want to transition that same strength and position into a more technical pattern, the squat clean. Now, we're not just going to a heavy front squat, and that's where the front squats after the heavy squat, the hang squat cleans. The front squat is to work as a little bit additional volume, right? So we're still in our foundation phase for this training phase, this mesocycle, but we want to test and practice and become more aware of those movement patterns and the positions. So working from the top down on the hang squat clean. We will end up testing a 1 rep max hang squat clean. And then for our secondary strength, we're going into kind of working the other end of the spectrum from our overhead pressing. So we had our strict press, push press complex during the previous month. This month of June, we're going to be doing some jerk drills into a jerk progression. So what this is going to look like every week, the beginning of this jerk session, we're going to start off with 8 minutes working on a specific drill. The goal here is to improve the mechanics, improve the balance, the body awareness, working with all this stuff underneath light weight, whether it's an empty bar or maybe some light percentage working around between like 30 to 40% of your 1 rep max jerk. But we're going to work with either a push jerk, power jerk, split jerk. Basically, let's work on the pattern of driving and catching the bar, okay? So at the end of this month, we are going to test out our jerks. For our skill, we're going to play with something different. We're going to go into some kettlebell work. The goal with this session here with the skills is to work on developing a little bit more midline stability while working with a hip hinge to some pressing, some squatting, snatch work, Turkish get-ups, windmills, all kinds of kettlebell drills, is to expand our ability or awareness of these movement patterns and how to do them correctly. So spend some time, make sure we're working on keeping our wrists neutral, and if this is something that we're not really into or limited on equipment, we can still do it with a dumbbell. But ultimate goal is to work and progress to a single arm overhead squat with either a dumbbell or a kettlebell, ideally a kettlebell. So that is our progressions for this next month. When we talk about our benchmarks, we've got a lot of notable workouts coming up. We are going to be going into our test. We've got our test for our hang squat clean. We've got our test for the jerk. Then we're going to do a hero workout, Emily. We've got Annie, which is going to be a post lift session. So Annie's are double unders and sit-ups. We have Nancy also. This is another classic one with the big emphasis of the single arm overhead squat. That should transfer over to our positioning for our overhead squats during Nancy. And then Fight Gone Bad. Fight Gone Bad is another great notable workout. This one, during the daily videos, we did talk a little bit more about maybe how to structure this in a class format. Personally, I like to run it as 2 heats. So heat 1 is being recorded by the heat 2 person just to collect some data, so heat 1 can really just focus on going, gas pedal down and go, versus keeping track of how many reps and when we're transitioning, all that stuff. Then there's going to be a short break in between, and then the partner B that was counting or keeping track of reps will then go. But throughout the workout, partner B should consistently be moving. And watch that video for a little bit more information on maybe how to run that type of a class. But that is what we have scheduled for this month. At the end of this mesocycle, we get to begin our next month, which is going to have a much heavier emphasis on our Olympic lifts. So coming out of our foundation to transition our foundational strength that we've worked with into more skill and strength. All right, guys, have fun, enjoy your week, enjoy your month.